Welcome to Sports CTO Talks. In this series, we will be connecting with industry leaders and tech experts in the sports industry, where we will simplify sports technology for all. I am Ami, your guide on this journey through the minds of tech leaders who are shaping the future of sports. We will dive deep into discussions in the industry, from AI to cloud, from cybersecurity to sustainability. If it is tech, we are talking about it. Today, we have a very interesting and an expert, a senior guest with us, Victor Bergonzoli. He is a trailblazer in the industry. He is into sports video analysis and digital coaching. He co-founded Dartfish in 1999, serving as the CEO until 2017. Under his leadership, Dartfish became a global leader in video analysis solutions, utilized by major sports federations and Olympic medalists. Notably, Victor secured a partnership with NBC, integrating Dartfish's StroMotion and Simulcam technologies into Olympic Games, earning him Emmy Awards for outstanding technology achievements in 2004. Victor, I have so many things to share, and I am still going to continue. In 2020, Victor was appointed the CEO of SportsEdTV, a free online sports education platform. His vision focuses on democratizing access to high-quality coaching and training resources worldwide. A former Swiss national weightlifting competitor and Swiss Army captain, he brings a wealth of experience in sports and business to his current role. Victor's commitment to enhancing athletic performance through innovative technology continues to impact coaches and athletes globally. We welcome you, Victor, to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Very pleased. And I'm pleased to be back in India, even if it's through Zoom.
We would love to. Okay, so today he would be talking about sports education and its emphasis on community engagement. Victor, if you could, share your journey, how you began, and like what was back then, and what is, what are the changes you see today, and then I can dive into asking you lots and lots of questions.
Yes, sure. So actually, when I decided to co-found Dartfish, I was in India. I was in New Delhi. And we were establishing the first GSM towers and the first GSM technology. I was part of a joint venture between Swisscom and SR Cell Phone back then. That has now become, I think, Vodafone. And I enjoy your country so much. I stayed for 2 years. So I have a sports background and I was a captain in the infantry. So sports for me has always been a very important side of my life. I believe that if you are involved in sports at a young age, it creates such disciplines. You learn teamwork. We'll go through that. I wanted to always make sure that people have access to it. So we started Dartfish in '99. Dartfish was a pure, technology company. It is still, and we focused on video. Video is so important. So I spent a few years first dealing with the broadcast aspect of Dartfish. And then I came to the US, originally for 6 months, but I fell in love with the country. And so we decided to stay. There's been 25 years now. And I was the CEO of Dartfish, so moving, from the US to Switzerland, traveling back and forth every month for a week. And then, of course, traveling around the world. I've been to Japan, I've been to many countries helping these Olympic teams. And what I learned is, what do these athletes need? And this is the most, amazing fact about what I learned is top level athletes have specific needs, but they're very similar to, the grassroots in terms of mental toughness and, nutrition and whatever you need to be successful. And I really enjoyed it. At the last Olympics, 74% of the medals were won by people using Dartfish. So I spent, up to 2020 doing that and developing the markets and working with top Olympic coaches and high school coaches and college coaches at all levels.
Okay, that's interesting.
So that's for Dartfish. And then in 2020, I joined SportsEdTV. So, we realized that in the world, a lot of people name themselves experts. And now with Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, everybody who has a cell phone can film any video and say, oh, I'm an expert, I'm going to teach you what to do. And I have a very personal experience because when my son was 6, he came to me and says, Dad, I want to play lacrosse. And lacrosse is a very North American sport. And I said, lacrosse? Why? Why don't you play soccer or football? Something I know. He's like, no, I really want to play lacrosse. So I'm a good dad and I'm trying to be a good dad. And I'm like, I'm going to try to learn this sport and how I can help him. So what did I do? I went on YouTube and found a few videos, and one had 1 million views, I remember. And I said, that must be good. If there's 1 million views, that must be good. I sent that to his coach, and his coach says, don't teach him that. This is horrible. I'm like, but coach, there is 1 million views. He's like, no. So on those social media, everybody can be an expert. It's very much like, everybody giving their opinion on politics or anything else. And we decided, well, amazingly, nobody has created a platform where all the sports and good content is shared. So we created SportsEdTV, Sports Education TV. And we decided that we're going to find the best coaches for the sports, and we're going to film in broadcast quality, because we believe quality in terms of coaching and in terms of filming are important. And that's what we did. So we now have around 2,000 videos in more than 10 sports. The goal is to grow to all the sports eventually. We started with tennis, we have taekwondo, we have weightlifting, we have golf, we have soccer, basketball, volleyball, rugby is the last one we are launching. And you can go on the platform and you can see the quality of the video and the instruction. And really the goal was we make it free, accessible to all. And you're going to be pleased to know that India is one of our #1 countries to access the videos on a daily basis. So there is a need. So that's what we did. That's on the video part. Then we decided to add blogs. So you can have a lot of articles. We have around 2,000 blogs. We have 400 people writing blogs, on our platform. These are all top experts in their field. And we have blogs on nutrition, on mental toughness, on strength and conditioning, you name it. If you look for a topic, you find it. We have a community. We have around 1 million people who are following us on social media and on the community itself. And then we have a place that we call Discover. Discover is what we are looking for a coach, you're looking for a product, you're looking for a facility. You can go and discover and find it. So we really try to do is to put everything under one roof. That's what SportsEdTV is. And SportsEdTV is for parents, coaches, and athletes to really improve at their sport.
Okay. So it is amazing to listen to all this. So you have been in on the forefront from almost 2 decades or more than 2 decades. So what have you seen in the video analysis segment? How has it grown from past to now?
Yes.
What were the things?
In video analysis. So interestingly, the first people who started video analysis were in boxing at the beginning of the 20th century. Very, very old, movies. And why did they film boxing? Because as a boxer, you cannot do a competition every week. It's impossible. So they realized that if I need to look at some patterns and help my athletes, I need to film. So these are the first ones. And in the US, the first teams to really embrace filming was American football, because they had more money and more means than many other sports. But what I have seen is at the very beginning, when we launched Dartfish, we started with skiing. Being a Swiss company, skiing was important. And very much like boxing, when you train, you can go down the hill a few times and you have a few hours where usually they train, and they need to analyze as well, the patterns of going down the slope. So they were filming a lot, and they needed tools to slow down the image. And that was the very beginning of, you had the digital cameras that were very expensive. They were like, just to buy a small camera was $3,000 back then. So we said, okay, how can we help these coaches slow down? It's very simple. And of course, Dartfish had this amazing technology called the Sinulcam, where you could overlay two different competitors in skiing and making one video when they were skiing together. And that was very useful in skiing for their coaches, because they could analyze the best one versus their performance, or them when they were performing well versus when they're not performing as well. So very beginning, very simple. And then video analysis, the main thing that it became mainstream when people started having their cell phone filming. So the first barrier was, I need to buy a video camera. That's the first thing. And then from the video camera, I need to digitalize it, put it on a computer where I can slow down, go frame by frame. A lot of this technology is now on your cell phone. You have apps. So apps, tracking, angles, and now with AI, the possibility for some people who really want to go deep and deeper is AI is going to analyze some motions for you, some patterns, and that's a big change. We didn't have that 20 years ago. So, but in the end, technology and video technology is only here to bridge the gap between my observation as a coach and your perception as an athlete. This is very crucial, because when I do something, I have the feeling that I did it this way. And the coach says, no, you didn't. I'm like, yes, I did. When you see it on video, or when you see yourself on the picture on video, it doesn't lie. And you're like, yeah, okay, I hear what you see, and I'm going to listen to you. So it's just fantastic. And I remember when Paul and Morgan Ham, who were Olympic champions, in gymnastics, and their father, Sandy Ham, was telling me, Victor, you really helped a lot, because the coach was trying to tell them what was happening, and they would not believe it until they saw themselves on the video. So these are, some moments I remember, and that was in the early 2000s. So what I love, it has become mainstream now.
Agree. So true. And understanding from that perspective in today's time is really important. So it's going to add up to so many things. So
Yes.
I just want to understand how sports education, as you are into SportsEdTV, how sports education can be used as a tool to foster stronger community engagement.
That's a very good question. So basically, to foster community engagement, what you need to do is bring people together. And especially with COVID, what happened the past, 4 or 5 years, I cannot believe it was 5 years ago now, but, people stayed home, not being connected. And then teleworking started. So we have a lot of remote workers now still, I think 25% in the US, I don't know how much in India, is remote working. So when you bring people together, you teach teamwork, you teach respect, you learn skills, you have fun. So by bringing that together through sports, communities are stronger and more connected. And basically, that's how you do it.
True. I can relate with it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what role does digital platforms these days play in making sports education more accessible to the underprivileged communities?
So if you have a digital platform, you make sports education easier to access, especially for underprivileged communities, as you said. We have, a lot of people, not only, we have a lot of people in Africa watching our videos, but in some cities in the US where a lot of, kids don't have the means. We just did an amazing program with the Chicago Public School, where we created curriculum in volleyball and in basketball, and bringing all the knowledge of a Tim Hardaway Sr. and Mark Strickland who are, NBA stars to kids and coaches who could not have this access without the video access. So when you provide, free videos, online coaching, training tips, people learn, improve their skill, and they don't need expensive equipment or classes. You can really, I've seen videos of kids playing volleyball in the dirt, but the technique, the way you learn the game, you need to have good access to coaching, and sometimes they don't. And that's where the online platforms like SportsEdTV help.
Okay. So, like, what are the biggest challenges you have faced to improve the quality of the education? And, like, how do you cater to that?
So the biggest challenge is when you provide quality sports education, what I've seen, especially at the grassroots level, the first one is lack of funding. It's to launch a program, you need some funding. You have sometimes limited access to facilities and equipment. We worked on a program where we were able to collect some rackets, tennis rackets, and send them to South Africa to some communities that could not afford a tennis racket. And maybe within these kids, you have the next Roger Federer. So if you don't bring that to them, how do you know? And what do we miss? And finding trained coaches, because a good coach is needed to develop some skills. And another thing is the peer and parental pressures as well that can create a lot of stress for young athletes. And as you know, you're from a country where, being a woman, you have to fight more than in other cultures maybe, and you have even countries that are more difficult. And you're from a country where if you're not a doctor or lawyer or an engineer, your parents are going to say, why? You study first and you're going to do sports afterwards. And if we can teach people that playing sports, even, for everybody, and women executives, the top executives, you look at the data, 95% of them played sports in an organized manner when they were young. That tells you something. So parental pressures and peer pressure are as well a challenge, but can work on that.
Okay. So, how can schools and local organizations collaborate more effectively to integrate the whole sports education system and to enhance sports overall?
Yes. So first of all, sharing resources like sports facilities. If you can share sports facilities, you can share equipment. If you have trained coaches that can make the programs more accessible, it's important as well. I remember when my son was playing lacrosse, there is a system in the US called recreation sports, and you have a high school with high school sports in the US is pretty serious. I mean, sometimes you have more spectators than not a cricket game in India, but you have a lot of people, more than in my native country of Switzerland. But what we had are, a program going around the high school where some of the coaches were the same and helping, knowing that if I help this young kid, when he goes into my high school, he's going to be trained and well. So that's important. Creating mentorship opportunities, involving parents, again, organize community events to keep the kids engaged. And then securing funding, you can find grants, sponsorship. Again, if you have a big corporation like Tata in India, and they are like, if in my communities, I help having kids, learning sports and being better managers, learning these teamwork skills and everything, these workers in the future are going to be more successful. So why don't I, provide some funding for that? That's how you do it.
Okay. These days, everyone is talking about AI. So, how do you see AI and video analysis, as tools transforming the ways athletes and coaches learn to improve or to understand the patterns? Like, how do you see it?
Yes. So video analysis and AI are complementary and different, right? Everybody speaks about AI these days, but Video analysis help athletes and coaches break down the movement, analyze team patterns, go in slow motion, refine the techniques and tactics. That has been used for decades now, as we know, with companies like Dartfish. AI, on the other hand, can really provide real-time data that a human cannot process in real time. What I like about AI and where it's going to go is personalized training plans. So we are working on some projects where I'm gonna go on SportsEdTV and ask a specific training plan that I may need based on who I am, my skill level, my level of coaching, and my athletes. And AI, through everything we have on the platform, will help, and that's wonderful. And predictive analysis as well is pretty amazing. A good friend of mine, Indepal Bandari, who was the global chief data officer of IBM, is from India, and when I met him, he had a predictive analysis company 20 years ago, and he's back into it now. And this is where AI can help a lot as well.
Okay. So, what impact do you think the free access online coaching platforms have on traditional coaching methods? Like, is it going to replace them, or is it going to be a supplementary? Those are the questions which definitely come up.
Yes.
So,
So I think it's a complement more than replacement. You give everyone extra training resources. So what we tell our coaches, we on the platform SportsEdTV, 30% of the viewers are coaches. And that the kids are going to go on social media, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok to try to learn things. And the problem is when they go on this wonderful platform, and I go on Instagram very often, we have a lot of followers on our Instagram account, is you get sucked in other thing, right? All of a sudden you see this funny video and then you realize you lost 15 minutes of your life. Kids, they waste 2 hours. If you send them on a platform like SportsEdTV, the content is good, and that they're not going to be wasting time on other things. But for them as well, they can gain new techniques, drills, strategies from top experts. So no coaches can go on SportsEdTV and say, oh, this is not true, I don't believe in that, because the coaches we have are experts, we vet them, so they can improve their own instruction. So I really see that as a complement rather than replacement.
Agree with you on that. So, there are so many places, so many countries who don't have access to coaches, trainers. So, how can technology help the communities to come in contact with correct coaches, right trainers, and how can they grow from stage 1 to stage 2 and gradually go ahead in the sports?
Yes. Well, first of all, by providing free online training videos, and free for me is important, because if you start putting a price for many communities, it's a barrier to entry. You can provide virtual coaching sessions. We just did a partnership with a wonderful company called Click, KLIQ, and some coaches need to be remote, very much like telemedicine. So we are providing tools that help this kind of systems. You can have AI-driven feedback to improve skills as well. So it connects athletes with experts through apps and online platforms. So basically, you're making a quality instruction accessible anywhere, anytime, and that's the key, and that's what we provide. You can be in the middle of Uganda and you want to learn tennis skills. The next coach might be 50 miles away, but you have a racket. You go online, and at least you can learn the proper basic skills to start the game.
Okay. So, there are companies like they try to ensure inclusivity beneficial to all the athletes of different backgrounds. uh, Different skill sets are tried to be covered. So how does that work?
So if you really want to be inclusive, you need to offer training for all skill levels to start with. You cannot just say, oh, I'm going to focus on the grassroots only just for beginners, or I'm going to focus on the top end. The top end is always well covered. You have the Indian Institute of Sports, you have the Olympic committees, and you have all the top federations. They are going to take care of their top athletes. You need to feature both females and male, athletes. That's what we have on our library. You have little girls, you have young men, and that's important. And to be inclusive as well, you need to find top experts from different regions. If I teach skiing, I'm going to try to find a good Swiss instructor, especially these days, they're doing pretty well. I'm going to maybe find an Italian or Brazilian soccer coach, and I'm going to find an Indian cricket expert, right? If I take a German cricket expert, he may not have, the expertise that people want to understand. So that's inclusivity as well. Now, you have to really look at the training methods you use, if they are adaptive. So they need to be valuable for everyone, regardless of the background or their experience. That's important.
Okay. So like as we're talking about inclusivity, like there are many like problems where females come into, like, into the sports industry. There are very less females. The ratio is different. So how can we motivate or encourage specifically females? Like, what is your experience? How can that be developed?
It starts by educating, first of all, the families that sport is essential. I'm the father of a girl and then a boy. So I was lucky I had both. And I really wanted my little girl, I mean, now she's 22, but she's always going to be my little girl. But I really wanted her to be strong. I wanted her to have all the skills, and there is no reason why a woman should not do what a man does. That's what I believe. And I want my daughter to be more successful than I have been in my life. That's my goal. So start with the family and educating why sports is important. Then you need to create a very safe and supportive environment. So I would say that if I'm a father in some cultures, and I know that it's a female-led coaching that is going to, work with the females team, then you provide, you're providing a safe environment, and that's going to help a lot, especially in some other cultures. You need to provide role models. Look at this boxer from Algeria, or Morocco. If you can look at, Lindsey Vonn, we bring role models and showing the world, look at what female athletes can achieve, showcase CEOs of corporations that are women that explain that they are successful because of sports. And then you have to tailor the programs to cultural norms. If you look at Taekwondo or in beach volley is a typical example. If you accept that, women can be covered, that's going to make it, easier than forcing people to have a bikini. So you really have to involve families. Promoting the benefit of sports will make sure that, families understand. It starts at the family, at the nucleus of, where it starts. And if I'm a father and my mother and I'm like, no, you need to do sports because I know the benefits long term, even if you want to become a doctor one day or an engineer, that's going to change everything. But you need the infrastructure around it.
Absolutely. So, like when you're talking about this, like, how to encourage the youth to stick to sports long term, not just, in their primes or when they are young, and they should pursue it when they grow up with their careers, or they can make it their career. So, how to encourage them, how to motivate them, like.
Yes. Well, I am a capitalist, and I believe that, as a CEO of a corporation, I want my workers to be happy, and never be sick. I mean, I'm almost never sick, and I'm going to knock on wood here. But I exercise, I work out every day. I wake up at 4:30, and then I go for a long walk and in the gym. And then when I'm in the office at 8, I've already walked 8 kilometers, 5 miles, and I worked in the gym for 1 hour. That's my daily routine. So you want people to be healthy. That's the first thing. And the program should focus on enjoyment, social connections, telling people you're going to have a better life. You're going to connect with other people. Even if you go to a gym or you play tennis, you make new friends. Pickleball, I don't know if pickleball becomes serious in India as well, but
Very
pickleball in the
much.
US is a social revolution. People are getting together, having fun. Transgender, different genders, cross generation it's really amazing. And it's fitness rather than just competition, staying fit. So what you need to do is offer training for different life stages and community leagues, recreational opportunities. We are launching with SportsEdTV something called Playtime. So Playtime is going to be a process a system where people go for an hour and a half and discover a new sport and teach themselves, teach each other how to play the sport without a coach, just having fun, connecting. People need to get out of the home working, remote working, or even the office to stay healthier. So education, again, educate people, telling them that it's very important to be active. It's important for mental health, number one. So they're going to be more productive. You convince companies by telling them having happy workers, healthy workers, they're going to be more productive.
Absolutely. Like I have a lot of questions, but I'll stick to one last question. Is like, how do you, what do you suggest the new entrepreneurs who are entering into the sports market? What are the things they should take care of? What are the things they should do? And what are the things which will help them to grow in the industry?
Sports market in general or sports technology? In
Sports
general?
technology, sports in general.
Yes. So the first thing is really understanding, what you want to offer. That's the first thing. And I call that the danger of Excel. So people go on a Google sheet or Excel sheet and they say, wow, there are 100 million people playing cricket. If only I get 1% of them buying my product, I'm going to be very rich. And that's a big danger. So my first thing is don't fall in the trap. Really know your product and launch it as quickly as possible and see the reaction of the normal people. Don't follow the advice only of a few experts. Look at more general population to make sure that what you're offering is a product and not a technology. Or if you offer consulting to sports athletes or training programs, make sure that people embrace what you have and make sure you really understand the different clients you may have. Because the danger is you only listen to a few and you believe you have a product when you may have only a technology, and then the battle is difficult. Don't try to change behavior. That's extremely difficult. If you're trying to change behavior, it can take a decade for people to adapt what you are selling. Look at the flow, look at what people are doing, and maybe you bring something that's going to make this flow easier. That's another advice. But the main one is go for it. Don't be scared. It's never easy. If a lot of people say, if I had known, I would not have done it, and that's true. But then, you just go for it, take the risk. There is nothing worse than regretting not having taken a risk. You fail, it doesn't matter. You can always do something else. But that's what I tell them. I say, go for it, but do it cleverly and try to find people on your team that have done it before, people who can be board members, people who can be advisors, because we have a tendency. When I started Dartfish, I was very young, and I I thought I knew it all, but what I realized is people don't know what they don't know. So listen to people with more experience as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like, we'll move on to the next segment of the podcast, that is
Yeah.
rapid fire round. I'll shoot questions to you, and you have to be quick in answering. You cannot, think. You cannot take a minute to think. Okay.
Okay.
All right. First question. If you could train one famous athlete, past or present, who would it be?
Roger Federer.
First sport you ever played?
Sorry,
First sport you ever played?
soccer.
One athlete whose technique you would love to break down frame by frame.
Roger Federer.
Okay. Your go-to pre-match hype song.
I have two.
Okay.
The Eye of
Name.
the Tiger or We Are the Champions.
Okay. If you could introduce a brand new Olympic sport, what would it be?
Padel.
Okay. Biggest myth about sports training you wish people should stop believing.
That everything is due to talent.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What's your go-to hype song before a big event or meeting?
That's The Eye of the Tiger or We Are the Champion.
Okay. Most exciting sports event you have ever attended?
The Olympics, Summer
Oh,
Olympics in London and Winter Olympics in Vancouver.
wow. Okay. If you could create a slogan for sports education in one sentence, what would it be?
Now you can play.
Perfect. One country you think is doing sports education exceptionally well.
Norway.
Okay. That was the rapid fire round. Now we will move on to this third segment. You'll have to answer this question into 30 seconds.
Okay.
I have two questions for you. Generally, I take one question, but I want to ask you two questions. First is, how can AI-driven personalized coaching enhance the learning experience on platforms like SportsEdTV, making sports education more interactive and effective for athletes of all levels?
By creating basically personalized plan for people, and that's very important because if I'm a weightlifter with a specific body weight and issues, I want to be able to have something personalized, and that can be done with the coach or without a coach, but better with a coach, and that's what AI will bring is personalization, I believe.
Okay, next question is, if you had 30 seconds to convince someone why video analysis matters, what would you say? One sentence only.
Uh, it bridges the gap between somebody's observation and the person performing's perception. That's what video analysis is important to.
Thank you, Victor, for the amazing session. Your insights were really in depth and it helped us and our audience. And thank you for your time and joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, everyone, let's stay connected for more understanding about sports technology in the future. That was Victor sharing his expertise today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time, next episode. Till that, stay curious, stay inspired, keep exploring.